Please don't pack up your belongings. You should leave the building through the nearest and safest exit by the back of the office through the police stairwell. If this route is blocked, you should exit the building through the main marble staircase. And when exiting the building, proceed up the ramp and turn right. All attendees should congregate at the rear of the top car park where a register will be taken. Wait until you are told it's safe to re-enter the building. If you are a councillor, we have added you to the register. If you are a visitor and have not signed the register, please do so now. Additionally, whilst the fire alarm is sounding, do not use the lift to exit the building. Can I please remind everyone to put your mobile phones on silent mode and put the phone away for the duration of the meeting, and thereby avoiding interference from your iPad or with the microphone. The meeting will be recorded and live streamed on YouTube, and therefore when speaking, please remember to speak clearly. As the chair of the meeting, I have the discretion to terminate or suspend recording and live streaming if, in my opinion, continuing to do so will prejudice the proceeding of the meeting. Recording and live streaming of confidential items will also not take place. To alert me as the chair of the meeting that you would like to speak, please raise your hand and wait for me to call upon you before speaking. Please remember, if you leave the meeting for any reason, you will not be able to take part in the vote on the item that is being discussed at that time. Members of the public will be able to view the live stream of the meeting by YouTube. And please can I request that when speaking, you make your points as succinct as possible to allow for the smooth running of the meeting. And can I also take this opportunity to remind you to be polite and treat each other with respect at all times. So we will start the meeting officially. Any apologies, William?
Councillor Stokes.
Thank you. Any agenda item 2, any declarations of interest on the items that we are going to be discussing? No, thank you. Turning now to the minutes of the previous meeting that was held on 2nd of December. Any notes or any comments? We're happy for me to then. Can I have a proposer, a Pollard and a seconder? Oh, God, side. I'll sign those later. Thank you. So, yes, vote. All those in favour? Thank you. It's been a very odd beginning with no with the IT. It's all got a bit all unsettling. Thank you. So that's carried. So moving on to the forward plan. Have we all had a chance to have a look through the forward plan, and are there any comments? I think tonight we've got the footfall counters, everything that's on here, and then we've got quite a, February looks like quite a busy meeting, doesn't it? There's lots of things on it. So should be fine. All right, so if there's no comments, we'll move on to the next item. So update from chairs of working groups. So obviously I'm aware that we had a last meeting in December and we're now in January, and we've had Christmas in the middle, and there may be not much chance for any meetings to be held. Have any working groups met? So Ellis?
No, but I think it's worth acknowledging fantastic success of the Brew Taunton. So for arts and culture, we met on the 13th of November. But obviously since then, we've had a whole Christmas season of wonderment, including a brilliant Carols Around the Bandstand organised by Taunton Town Council. And I'm sure we've commented on Winterfest and the Christmas light switch on and the success of that. But also Taunton Brewhouse's The Nutcracker, Not the Ballet, was an amazing, really amazing show. I think they really outdid themselves. Everyone says it's the best show that they've seen in ages. Christmas show, really amazing. And there were a number of other amazing Christmassy events, like notably the Rifles at the Minster, which is always absolutely banging. And just to note that we're heading into Panto season proper now.
Oh no, we're not.
Oh yes, we are. And it kicks off with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's Wayfarers Panto 11th to the 17th of this month at Taunton Brewhouse. and there's a great year ahead. We've got the Blue Tone Festival, which Councillor Garside has brought to us before. We've discussed before, well, it wasn't called, it didn't have a name before, the Jazz, Blues, Funk and whatnot festival, but it does now. It's got a new name, and it's got, so the Blue Tone Festival, 28th of May to the 31st of May in Vivery. It's going to be absolutely mega. So they've got opening at Ruby Turner on the Thursday, on the Friday, brand new heavies, Curtis Steigers on Saturday, and then on Sunday, Southern Symphonia are doing Gershwin. It's absolutely amazing. There's a special early bird offer. You can get like a ticket for the 4 days of amazing entertainment. Not just those are the headline events, but there's going to be so much more for 89 quid, which is not bad. So that's all very exciting.
Fabulous.
Yes, very, very exciting. And also Taunton Sinfonietta are doing a concert in February. It's going to be absolutely wonderful. And they're promoting Elliot, who is the Taunton Young Musician of the year, last year. And it's going to be at the Castle Hotel. So the height of luxury, and I recommend that you get your ticket early because it's going to be a sellout.
Brilliant, that's fabulous, and great things happening in Taunton. And as you've mentioned, you know, the Christmas light switch on was amazing. You know, a huge great thanks to the Community in Place team for everything that you've done over that period of time. It's been amazing. And there's a couple of updates in staffing. Craig, if you just wanted to just let people know that we've got 2 new members of staff.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I got a microphone here.
Yes.
Yeah, so we've got 2 new members of staff. Miranda Litchfield joins us as the Tourism Innovation Lead. So this week will be pretty much focused on the induction, getting her feet under the table, and then introducing Miranda to the visitor centre staff and the service, and to kind of understand the nuts and bolts and how that service runs. And she's very much looking forward to meeting the councillors and getting involved in the hospitality tourism working group. The second officer that has accepted the position of the community officer role is a gentleman called Charlie Daniels, who joins us from the Croydon Police Force. So he was a police inspector, I want to say, police constable from Croydon. So he brings a wealth of knowledge and experience regarding things like public space protection orders, enforcement powers, and can really help to improve the safety aspect of the community. So we really are lucky to have these great individuals joining the Community in Place team. Thank you.
Fabulous, thanks, Craig. Thank you. That's great. Just a quick update on those bits and pieces. So I'm just sort of looking. So I think we'll, if it's all right with everyone, we'll just move on to the next item on the agenda. So I noticed that we should have possibly Sharon from the local policing, but she may not be able to join us because of the technical issues that we've got. Or is she waiting? Yeah.
No, she said she will come to the meeting.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe she's on her way.
Okay, they should come in person.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
okay, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So we can just shuffle things around. Okay, thank you. So then we'll move on to the Ward Members Initiative Scheme. So we've been, and this is from Councillor O'Donnell. And we're being asked to consider the application made for the Wellsprings and Robarton for £3,800 to purchase and install new accessible picnic benches and an accessible path at Greenway Recreation Ground. Will, would you like to introduce it for us?
Thank you, Chair. So, yeah, so this is an application made by Councillor O'Donnell for £3,800. So Greenway Rec is a small global park with a mix of play equipment and outdoor gym equipment that are both regularly used. This application comes following significant consultation with local residents, visiting the park, Facebook comments, and also both councillors for the area hosted a meeting in August to meet with them, and this was one of the actions that came out as a result. In addition, this also services the need from the Play Park Accessibility Report, which we commissioned, and installing accessible benches and a path makes our parks more inclusive, accessible, which is a key aim for the town council. So yeah, this will help us by directly investing in improvements in our town. Installing the seating will help to improve our parks and open spaces, and it drives investment into our parks following significant consultation, servicing our engaged community outcome as well. In addition, some risks that have been identified is lack of capacity to completely install, as this work will be done in-house. This is primarily to save on costs, but I have assurances from our maintenance team that there is significant sufficient capacity to be able to deliver this. Another potential risk is to conflict with our wider accessibility project, given that it will change what the park looks like when it comes to design, as it's being done before the consultation has been done on the design. This can be adapted for those areas. So I'll now hand it over to any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, Nick, did you want to just add on?
Yes, thank you. There's a couple of things I need to mention. One very important thing actually, but Rec has a couple of park benches, and there's been a lot of comments since the town council was formed that nothing's been done in the park, and this is one of the requests that started to come through. And when the ward members initiative schemes launched, we saw this as myself and Councillor Isaac saw this as an ideal opportunity to address some of the many comments that we have been receiving from local residents to say we need another bench, and there aren't picnic tables. There's nowhere actually in that park to sit down with. We were very keen when we met with the residents back in August. It's a very long time ago now. We aimed at whether we'd be able to get 2 picnic tables, but there is plenty of money in our ward members initiative scheme available, so we can get the 2 picnic tables, one of which we always said would be capable of taking a wheelchair, so it would be wheelchair accessible. Now, we were very keen, because with all the play park tenders going out, that we want to make our parks as inclusive, as accessible as possible. We stressed to our residents that it was important to have picnic table that was adequate for wheelchairs, but that of course necessitated proper parking putting in, which is what caused a lot of the delay in getting quotes and getting the report together, because trying to find out who could put proper parking. At one stage we thought it would have to be a concrete park, but I've loathed to put in more concrete into on green spaces, so we've gone for this mix where you've got that netting, that kind of black netting, where you put gravel underneath, then put the netting on top, and then the grass goes in between. So it's a nice solid surface for accessible vehicles to get across, wheelchairs to get across, but it still looks in keeping with the park. It still looks green. So we were very pleased, and I was very pleased that we can actually have our own maintenance team able to do that, because we've gone for this black netting. Our own maintenance team can do that, so we're keeping costs down now. So we have been letting the residents know it's coming, but that'll be quite quiet. But hopefully tonight I can get a report on Facebook. One thing I do need to mention, and I have mentioned this to Will, is that because it's taken quite a long time to come around, one of the quotes that we have for the picnic tables, the company has since stopped trading. So let's start with get these things together. So the lowest quote, I'm afraid, does come from a company that ceased trading at the end of November. And I did mention this to Will, and he said that it would be fine, we could still pass this through without having to get another quote. So I'm hoping that's successful, but it's important that I do declare that before you vote. Yeah. So there are actually 2 quotes for the picnic tables, one of whom is a company that we have started to use quite a lot as a town council anyway. That's our operations assets manager, previous operations and assets manager, was hoping to use as standard. So and they were very competitive. They were only a couple of £100 off the other quote, but just to declare that one of the quotes the company has since. But I did discuss this as well just back at the end of beginning of December, and he said that's fine. We didn't have to go and get another one. So very much looking forward to it. The timeline, there's no point doing it this time of year, so I think it's quite good. Even though we discussed it with residents being August, I feel the delay really is justified in the fact that we've come to the autumn and winter period, and actually the aim is to get it up and installed, ready for the Easter holidays. I think that's parents will really appreciate that one. Ready for these holidays. So that's just a bit of background. That's the essentially the information I do need to pass on about that report. But please do support it. Our residents have been asking us for that last year for this. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions up. We know the part better, and we'll.
Thank you. Any questions for Councillor O'Donnell? Councillor Ellis?
It's not a question, it seems like a no-brainer, and I'm sure we'll all be very happy to support it.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we have a proposal of Councillor O'Donnell, a seconder, Councillor Pollard, all those in favour. Thank you, and that's carried. Thank you. Yes, I've noticed with Sharon's joined us. So Sharon, are you happy to wait just till the next agenda item? Would that be okay? Fabulous.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, of course, no problem.
That's brilliant. Thanks ever so much. So if we move on to the next, we're on a roll now with more members initiative schemes.
Yes.
So the next one is for Glasses Mead benches submitted by Councillor Julie Stainthorpe, and we're being asked to consider the amount of £1,216.80 to install 2 park benches within the Glasses Mead park area. And just a brief background, Will, if you please. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So yeah, this is a application made from Councillor Stainthorpe over Comey Drove for £1,216.80. It concerns the installation of park benches at Glasses Mead. Whilst this area isn't an area that is maintained or owned by Taunton Town Council, we have sought permissions from Somerset Council to purchase and install these benches. Within this area, there are currently no benches in an area that's accessed by a large number of elderly residents as well as parents with young children. So this is to install those provisions for these populations. By doing so, this is helping to directly invest in improvements throughout the town. The benches, I believe, will be made using recycled materials for ecological benefits, contributing to a sustainable environment, and it also helps to support the health and well-being of our more elderly populations. Some risks associated with this are the aesthetic and appeal of the area. So to help to mitigate this, we've contacted Somerset Council to find the same supplier to ensure that there's uniformity throughout the town. Another risk is that due to the space being Somerset Council controlled, it's unclear what the maintenance will be going forward. And our maintenance lead has cited that us maintaining it would put significant strain on the maintenance of equipment as it's outside of our usual remit. And he suggested that to hand the maintenance over of the benches to Somerset Council after install. That conversation hasn't yet happened with Somerset Council, but we can have that should it need be needed to do so. And with that, I will hand it over for any question.
Thanks, Will. And also, I think this is something that's it's been quite a regular request on some of the social media pages. Councillor Rouse has probably picked it up as well, that there is no benches in Glasses Mead, and it's a popular area for dog walkers as well, and there's nowhere to sit, so I fully support this. From this. Are there any questions from? No. So I'd like to propose.
Just the point of clarification, apologies if I missed this when you were presenting, Will. Did you say that Somerset Council have not yet agreed to accept responsibility for the maintenance?
Yeah.
Just an update then. So I think in one of the attachments on the WIMS, I think there's an email from the street scene or open spaces supervisor manager confirming that they are happy to be taking on the maintenance of those assets. So, thank you.
Brilliant. Thanks for that, Craig. Thank you. So I'm happy to propose this particular initiative. Can I have a seconder? And Councillor Pollard. All those in favour? Carried. Thank you. Thanks very much, Ben. Thank you. So I'd like to welcome Sharon. Welcome, Sharon. We've had a few technical hiccups, I'm afraid, but Happy New Year.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Happy New Year to you all, and no problem at all. I'm sorry, Julio, if there was some concern caused with whether I was attending in person or online, but yes, I confirmed that I was attending, but it would be online, so apologies for that. But yes, hope everybody's well and keeping warm. I can confirm it's freezing outside, as we all know. But yes, as you would imagine, our high-vis patrols and our time and attention has been spent in the town centre around daytime activities in December, focusing on liaising with our businesses, preventing shoplifting, antisocial behaviour, etc., and trying to increase public reassurance and public safety. Evening times, it will be our nighttime economy, so we've been focusing very much on that in December, along with what is now Op Limit, which is our drink, drive and drug campaign. So we've been extremely busy. Last weekend, however, obviously was extremely quiet, and actually looking at data, we had no calls at all to the town centre throughout the night. So that was extremely unusual. All premises, businesses were reporting very low. However, in comparison, as you wouldn't expect or would expect, is Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th was extremely busy. We did have pre-authorised Section 34s, which are sort of dispersal orders, which we can use if we need to remove people, large groups of people causing disorder. However, there were no noticeable incidents, actually. There was even one premise that was open, I believe, until 6 AM due to a sporting event. Still no particular concerns or incidences for that busy weekend. We've also been using our ASB tools and powers. We've had a young male that's been causing the town centre and beyond actually some concern for a little while. He is a young male, so he's under the age of 16. So we had gathered all of our evidence together recently and put him before the courts, and we were granted an injunction for him with electronic monitoring as well and a curfew. Since that has been activated, that's for 3 months at this moment in time, but really pleased to say he's safe because he's tucked up at home as he should be at his age, but also our community is not having the absolute complete nuisance of antisocial behaviour throughout, so that was a really good outcome. Another antisocial behaviour tools and powers we've had just recently, we went to court for a closure order on a property just on the outskirts of the town centre. Again, a property that was causing residents a lot of concern with regards to antisocial behaviour coming from that property. Some of our homeless community were taking advantage of that area, and there were just lots of associated issues. So that property has now been confirmed that it's closed for 3 months, and then we'll be handing that back over to housing for them to take their initial work that they need to do. So that's all happened in December. We've been completing vulnerable checks on addresses for cuckooing concerns and safeguarding concerns around this time of year for people wanting to exploit our vulnerable. I touched on Op Limit. We've had various locations across Taunton and over 50 vehicles were stopped in one day. So that was really positive. And from an engagement point of view, we've got specific officers at the moment, which are points of contact for hate-related crime. And they are having additional training to give additional support and enhanced support to our victims of hate-related crime. And that also sort of encourages us, as we would do anyway, but even more so to try and reach out to our most isolated communities. And myself and a couple of PCSOs went to the Igbo community, which is a Nigerian community, and liaised with them just recently. So yeah, we're focusing on that element in the new year as well, which is great. But I don't know if anybody's got any questions or anything they'd like to ask, and I can certainly see if I can answer them.
Thanks for that, and that's a really good roundup. And you know, it's useful to know that it was pretty quiet over Christmas, and that's really good to hear. So yeah, Councillor Ellis, I believe, has got a question.
Yes, it wasn't very quiet in Northtown on New Year's Eve because there was an unauthorised illegal fireworks display in the park. They set up on the Bulls pitch. They dumped them by a rubbish bin, and then they flicked something into the rubbish bin, which may have been deliberately setting it alight. And there was a big fire, which luckily was noticed by members of the Friends of French Queer, Deane and James Appleton, who summons the fire brigade, let them in twice, and also when they left it still wasn't out, so they actually got Carly and Janine and co, and Janine's son got water from the river to finally put the fire out. But it was right by a tree, that bin's right by a tree, and if they hadn't have spotted it and alerted, that tree could have gone out. It could have spread across the pathway to the coach building, and that could have gone up in flames as well. So I believe Taunton Town Council's reported it, either Coach or the Friends, somebody else will have reported it. There is footage that Coach have. It's not brilliant, but it shows them arriving in the park, and it shows, you know, where they were doing stuff. And I would like to see that followed up, because it's not okay. You're not allowed to do fireworks in public space like that. It's incredibly dangerous. It could have caused a lot of hell of a lot more damage, and it was just lucky that people were, you know, because not New Year's Eve, you're sort of tucked up at home. Well, most people are, or off your head in town, I don't know. So I just wanted to make sure that's on your radar and that there's something happening about that. And I think also from our point of view, we probably need to remind people, actually, you can't, you know, there's rules about fireworks, there's laws about fireworks, and we all need to respect them.
Thank you. Thank you. Sharon, do you want to respond to that?
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor Ellis. I was hoping that obviously any questions could have been put to me before this evening, so I could have obviously tried to get some research for you. But no problem at all. I'll have a little look, and I'll be able to provide an update as soon as possible for you. And that will be whether I'll pop an email to Julio and he can share that with you. But yes, I will definitely have a little look at that and see who's reported and where we are with that. So thank you for raising that.
Thanks for that, Sharon. And I think as a note to me, I'll ensure that, you know, we do circulate to all councillors that, you know, you will be regularly send out community place meetings, and then any questions, because it makes sense for them to come to you. So thank you for that. Councillor O'Donnell.
Yes. Sharon. Sorry, I had a better like that. Sharon, sorry. Yes, too early in the new year. It's quite interesting with the fireworks, because I mean, they were very visible across the town. I mean, I've seen social media images showing the fireworks. Is there something your team would investigate? I mean, if they saw them, would they go over and investigate, or was there nobody out on New Year's Eve?
Oh gosh, no, there would be lots of teams out working across New Year's Eve, Councillor O'Donnell, definitely. Personally, I was lucky enough not to be working. And it's been my first week back this week, hence why I'll bring myself up to date with what's happening. There wasn't any mention of it on our document that we record, but that's mostly because we deal with offenders, etc. And whatnot. So yeah, I will certainly take a little look at. But yes, I think if there were officers even out on patrol and they had some downtime, then I would hope, especially my team, would go and have a little look anyway. But obviously, not knowing the circumstances, I don't know that. But I will look into that definitely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor. Any other questions for Sharon? Okay, so thank you ever so much, Sharon. Thank you for joining us, and we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Lovely. Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye.
All right, so back on to our next item, which is the communications strategy, and we are being asked to consider to approve the adoption of the 2025-2028 communication strategy. and to agree that implementation will commence immediately upon approval. And I'd like to hand over to Craig R to introduce it for us.
Thank you, Chair. I suppose we should update that to the 2026 strategy.
Absolutely, yeah.
But we're doing this because communication depends everything the council does, affecting trust, transparency, and whether our residents feel informed. The strategy itself is built around one simple principle: being a council that listens. Not just telling people what we're doing, but creating clear, accessible way for people to understand decisions, give feedback, and to see how that feedback is used. So it will directly support the corporate plan, particularly the priorities of an engaged community, prosperous town, and a council that delivers. The strategy itself is underpinned by 8 key actions that will inform the work of my team over the next 3 years. First one of those is to create an audience insight and engagement plan about understanding who we are reaching and who we are not, and tailoring our communications accordingly, rather than assuming one size might fit all. Second of those actions is to embed communications into this strategy into day-to-day practice. So it's not a bolt-on strategy that will be guiding our work, making sure that we're delivering clear and accessible communications. Third, the piloting of new communications channels, and that will include things like Instagram, improved use of social medias like Nextdoor, perhaps WhatsApp style broadcasts, and printed newsletter. There is a full list in there, but they are ambitions, not promises at this stage. Fourth is to create a clear style guide that will set out the tone, voice, and accessibility standards that we expect from my team when we communicate, but also acknowledging that everyone in this organisation is responsible for communication every day. I can give you a sneak peek. That one was finished today, so we are already delivering on this strategy. The fifth of those actions is to build a culture of regular and meaningful engagement, moving away, well, not away from our communications, but consultations, but supplementing that with routine surveys to understand how we're doing in parks, how we're doing in toilets, and how we're doing with Christmas, all that kind of thing. And sixth, to maintain a crisis communication plan that will set principles, roles, and processes so that we can quickly respond and be accurate with a single voice when things do go wrong. Seventh action would be to develop the intranet further as a central hub for internal communications, creating a central hub that should speed up our finding new news guidance templates and all that kind of thing. And finally, for my team to develop and maintain a communications forward plan that not only includes things like national days of importance, but allows us to identify where our pinch points will be, so annual town meeting or trending together, that kind of thing, so we can plan and decide when we can do the more ad hoc stuff in between. In terms of resources and risks, the strategy will be delivered in existing budgets. No additional funding is requested as part of this strategy, although the individual ambitions as part of this strategy may need to come back to you later, and if you approve it, it will come to you as your next agenda item. The key risks, it relates to resource and reputation and performance, staffing and financial capacity. But the key point is these exist already, by and large exist, and this strategy is a way to address that and formalise our ways of working to make sure that we are better planned to deliver for our community. We did a what's the EIA stand for?
Impact, equality impact.
What is the impact assessment? And it showed that it would either be positive impact or no impact across all groups. So in short, the strategy is about doing what we're already doing, but better, with more consistency and more transparency. And I open floor to questions.
Thanks, Craig. Thank you very much for that. And a lot of work's actually gone into doing that, preparing that document. Thank you very much. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I think the gist of it is absolutely fine. I don't really have any issue with it. Just some points. People still get muddled up. They don't understand the functions of Taunton Town Council as opposed to Somerset Council, or indeed as opposed to national government. And that's not necessarily that. I mean, how would you know? I mean, you know, you don't. It's not part of the sort of wider education process, is it? And whatever. I just thought it would be quite good to do some little video. I had it in mind to do this a while back, but I just, you know, haven't had time. Little video explainers, like nuggets, or, you know, bite size. This is what is an example of what the town council does against Somerset Council. Blah, blah, blah. Like for example, people always moaning about, you know, if the shop closes, it's like, well, you know, it's like, oh, it's the county, why don't they do something? Oh, well, they, you know, it's nothing to do with us, business rate, why don't they lower business rates? Well, we would if we could, but it's not determined by us. So there's probably a few little things that come up quite often, like the business rates is a classic one, and the idea that, you know, we have control over the raging capitalist useless whatever's that own property and the main thing, and they just keep it empty for ages sometimes. And what our responses and examples of where we put dressing on, and you know what we do, something like that. That was one point. So the comm strategy could be used to just kind of educate people about what we have the power to do and what is someone else's responsibility. I think it's all. I also have this idea, again, this is something that if I was cloned, I would be doing just for myself anyway. My role would be do like a weekly video update for socials, like bite-sized useful info. There's so much that goes on, even I forget, like, oh, you know, look, last week we decided this, week before that something else, whatever. I just thought it might be quite nice to do like a news update, bite-size. It wouldn't have to be on every fortnight, month, I don't know, like a video thing that you just pump out. Yeah, getting on Insta should be quite quick, and I'm a bit surprised we're not on it already. Are we on next? That question, are we on next, or I don't know if we are yet. What else? Yeah, I think it's good that we started to give people an idea of what's on the agenda for meetings, not just say, well, here's the meeting, you can watch it on YouTube or come, but like, well, why would I be interested? I don't know what we're discussing. So that's good if we can do that regularly, flag up what's coming up. And then it's nice when we do the sort of outcomes thing as well. I think that's good. I think we need to be, this is probably about comms sort of sitting on the teams, but sometimes like with park repairs, for example, it's a classic one where, you know, you park, something gets, you know, taped off or ringed off, and then there's no information, nothing. And you're like, you have to then start sending you saying, what's going on with it? And then you have to, can you give me an update? And then you have to think, am I allowed to share? What info am I allowed to share? You know, all of this. And I'm just thinking it would be much better if there was a system for, like, you know, the parks lot could tell you guys, okay, we've had to, you know, do this in X park. Can you please put something out on the relevant Facebook groups? Like, for example, when there's going to be the horse chestnut tree by coach in French Weir is going to have to come down in a couple of weeks. And there's going to be fenced, you know, certain area will be fenced off, yada yada. People need to have that explained in advance. I mean, you know, I could do that on social media. I've got the information, but it just sort of seemed to me that it'd be better coming from the town council. And we can also say that obviously every time this happens, you know, only taking it down because it's diseased and dangerous, it will be replaced with 3, not like for like, but, you know, yada yada. So I think that would be good. What else is on here? Oh yes, I just wanted to check as well, what for accessibility. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more when we come on to the thing about the newsletter thingy, but like I've just raised it because it's come up here. I think I've just wanted to check that, you know, if say somebody asks for a large print version of X or audio of Y or Braille or something, do you know how you would do that? I used to do, when I used to work for the disability sector, I used to just generate this stuff all the time. I'd write something in Word. It was very easy for me to reformat it, large print, pump it out, printer, you know, what colour paper do you want it on, what font size would be good for you, yada yada. Braille was actually quite easy because I was working in a disability organisation. And similarly, audio, because we have our own facility. So I just wanted to check. Easy read as well, actually. I used to do that. I used to have like a database of pictures and do my own little whatever. So that's just wanted to check in what arrangements we have in place, or it's something we're gonna sort out. Because some things you can do if you know a little bit, you've got even a little bit of knowledge, you can do things like large print, no bother. Other things slightly more complicated. And I don't know, we haven't referenced in the thing the Convo sign live that we've signed up to, and it might be worth, you know, sort of referencing that in there. Was that? Oh yes, and the other point was about the forward plan. Yeah, it's good to cross-reference with me because I sort of keep a list of what's coming up, the big culture stuff, not just the stuff that we're organising. So we just need to make sure that we know, you know, we've got those key things programmed in, not just the festivals, but sometimes, like, so for example, well, the Taunton Sinfonietta thing, also in February, the La Boheme. Somerset Opera, because their stuff is kind of quite significant. Anything that they're doing is going to be, you know, mega and needs promoting. Yeah, I think that's it. Sorry, there's a load of points.
Well, that's right. There were a lot of points. I might need to come back to you one by one for a little reminder. If we go in reverse, I'm happy to meet with you and incorporate all that kind of stuff in, or if you can happy to an email, whatever you do, that'd be good. The accessibility question is an interesting one. In my time here, I've never had a request to do anything in any other alternative format. I believe it's part of our policy that we will do that at request. As you say, I'm sure my design team can happily do live print and the other easier ones. But I'm not aware of anything in place if we needed to make a Braille document, for instance, other than our commitment to we would do it and we would find a provider to do it as soon as possible. So that could be something to have more of a serious think about. Yeah. What was your point before that one?
What was it about the parks and, like, you know, the sort of gen maintenance stuff that where something's broken and it's not been fixed and it's obvious something's broken, but nobody knows what's happening.
Yeah, well, we are in the Teams group chat for all of the ops and assets people, that we don't get everything through there. One change we agreed at SLT just before Christmas was the creation of an editorial group for communications, and that's where my team will meet with SLT so we can be better briefed about the wider goings on, so we can help do that story from start to finish. But there will be a post about the tree. I sent some emails tonight to just trying to figure out exactly which one it is so we can get a nice picture of it to clearly delineate which one it is. And before that, it was Nextdoor and Instagram. Yeah. We do have a placeholder Instagram account using our handle, so we're ready to jump on it as soon as. Your problem is it's usually more image rich. And when we had a SharePoint migration, we lost our image library, so we're quite light on nice pictures of Taunton. But it's probably that's the one we got. But that will be very high on the agenda. That will probably be top of my wish list too. We do have an Nextdoor account. We use it a little bit sparingly, but it is used. So you mentioned X. We are on X. It's terrible engagement. I'm not sure why we're still on there, but it gets meshed out to some people, and it doesn't take us any time to look after. So, and there was a point before that, wasn't there?
So yes, the things about just ideas for like doing like videos about explainers, and then like periodic like
bite-sized videos as well,
bite-sized things, you know, just so that everyone's got a sense of forward the town council doing stuff in a sort of round-uppy thing.
Yeah, I've approached people before, or I've had agreement from one person, but nailing them down is a bit difficult, and then finding someone who wants to be in front of camera is a little bit difficult. I've got one maybe winning star to my right, but he's also got another job rather than TV presenter. After the last Plan and Development Licensing Committee, I did trial doing a short video using an AI voiceover, but it didn't do very well at all, to be honest. I'm not sure if that was the AI voice or if it was just time and it was a busy day on the socials. So I will try it at different times and see how it goes, but definitely do that. I did think about actually asking Mr. Stone to hang around at the end and do a quick video about updates from this committee. But you did say you wanted to run off.
Yeah, I do have to leave Sharpers today.
We can do it tomorrow.
I think thanks, Craig, and thanks, Captain Rose. I think there's lots of really good, useful feedback, and maybe to capture that, if you could let Craig have your points, if you email them, I think that'd be really good, and then because we've got those at your fingertips, and especially around the accessibility, I think that'd be really useful for your assistance on that one, and your knowledge on that, Councillor Rose, would be fabulous. And I've made a couple of notes here. Councillor Gosling.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to reinforce the fact that people just need to be, I don't know, having a clear explanation of what Somerset Council and Taunton Council and the government, the different things, you know, that I am not personally responsible for all the rubbish that is thrown on the street in Taunton. You know, I've had people shouting at me on the street about rubbish, you know, in the middle of Taunton. Taunton Town Council is not responsible for the rubbish, you know, and by the way, people should put their rubbish in the bins. you know, it's it makes me very, very cross when people do that. And I mean, that's not the only thing. I mean, there are many things. I mean, the business rates, another one. You know, we're not responsible for that at all, and nor Somerset Council. You know, so it seems well unfair that, you know, Taunton Town Council get the blame for, you know, things that we don't have any control over at all. And I think, you know, there is a kind of educational policy that's kind of needs to underpin some of the messaging, you know, so you need, and I think, I don't know how to do it. I think maybe, maybe through the means of a video, some stupid person like me saying, you know, yeah, I want you to, you know, why can't you pick up that rubbish? You know, why can't you get that cleared up, Councillor Ellis? You know, and Councillor Ellis saying, well, it's not my responsibility.
I would never say that.
No. I'm not doing it. You pick it up.
But it is, and I think it's something that we talked about, didn't we, Craig, on Monday about the peacock, and we're going to move on to the peacock post in a minute. But it's just something it's for people to actually read, to say the difference. This is town councils do this, Somerset councils do that, and I think we're chipping away. But I think we'll never there's never an easy answer. But if we can put out as much information as we physically can through people's letterboxes,
Yeah, I think,
yeah,
as you say, you're never going to properly crack that one, but you have given me some ideas that are forming in my head now. I did approach Somerset Council about a joint campaign, but the problem they have with that is the patchwork nature of devolution. So if they're doing a campaign where it says parks are looked after by Taunton Town Council, in another town it might be different. So doing a joint campaign is very difficult. But we can work on that, sure.
Fabulous, thank you. Any more questions before we go to the recommendations? Councillor Dunn.
Yes, well, thank you, Jerry. Yes, just following on and just thinking about what's been said by Councillor Ellis. I'm thinking about Somerset Council website. They often have a bit, you know, we can often say, oh, there's a pothole in my road. Sometimes we can direct them to say, oh yes, if you go onto the Somerset Council website, you can report that, or you can do this and report that. Is there something we could develop ourselves for Taunton Town Council? You know, that's something that's going on in a park. They can go onto our website and say, oh, can this be raised? Can this be passed on?
Leave this on the development.
I think I asked this a while ago, and I think there's an issue around because it's not manned, is it? It's not monitored. Yes.
Full Vickery Business Innovation Leads working on something involving some technical stuff in the background of an online form to be able to do that through QR codes, and they're like, we've included a pin dropper on a map to show you exactly where the issue is. I'm not sure exactly where it is with that, but it's definitely that's more that we'll have to communicate it when it comes out. But
yes, so it's almost kind of developing the communication channels between residents to us, rather than us always, you know, we always talk about us to them, to the residents and to the wider town, but actually how easy is it for residents to contact us? I mean, they can come onto the website and look at our contact details as a councillors. That's quite straightforward, but sometimes I have to remind residents to do that. It's about, you know, just go onto the website and you find my email address. But yes, you know, you've got an issue with the park, you know, how can a resident do they think, who do they know how to contact? And perhaps sometimes
we do have signs in the park through QR codes to our current report it function, but it's better to be improved. So I think the problem is council of our size, you can get some really nice shiny things, but the amount of inquiries we get when most of them are go to Somerset Council.
Once all our parks have their own notice boards. QR code to report.
Thank you, that's great. Thank you, Nick. Councillor Boyle.
I have seen that you've done it, so it's mainly like seeing if we can keep doing it. Things like when councillors are doing like community surgeries, maybe that being boosted by the town council social media. I have seen you doing it, so I know you don't not do it. It's more just I know that like when I've had them and I've posted things, but that's not been shared as well. So if more for all the councillors, that could be good, because then we get more people coming to them, hopefully, because I know that at mine in particular we do tend to have the same faces turn up sometimes, so it'd be good to, you're more likely to reach more people than we are. So I would say that I think the social media, whoever it is that does it, they're actually really good in my opinion. I also quite like that when people say things that's clearly not true, they're pretty good at being firm in telling them that that's not the case and actually like providing proof that they're not telling the truth. I do think that's good, so I hope that continues.
Yeah, very proud of
It was a marvellous job,
yeah.
don't you?
It's a nice Northern Irish wit that it's firm but also a bit fun.
Yeah, that does a wonderful job. Okay, so are we ready to go ahead with the vote? So we are briefly.
Well, I just because reading through the strategy, I noticed that action 7 was missing. Are you aware? On the strategy, you've got action 8. There's action 6. I wasn't sure what action 7 was.
I'm interested in the one looking at. I got action 7, but not action 8.
Okay.
6.
So the one that's part of the agenda
Oh,
pack
yeah.
was the draft version.
Oh,
There is
okay, that's fine.
a design version that will be placed online.
So I wasn't sure whether we were approving the version that was here. I just wanted to make sure. Again, it's also, I wasn't entirely sure what CP002 was, and it's got this CP.
So that is our internal KPIs. They've all got a little code on it.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know which one it is off the top of my head. But
Okay, thank you.
Right. Okay. So we are being asked with 2 things: to approve the adoption of the, should be 2026 2028 communication strategy, and agree that the implementation will commence immediately on approval. And I'll take these 2 recommendations together. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Pollard and a seconder, Councillor Ellis, and all those in favour? Carried. Thank you very much. So staying with the theme of communications, we'll move on to our next item, which is about the home delivered Peacock Post. Over to you, Craig.
okay, so this report is asking the Community and Place Committee to consider a new approach to our printed communications, one that will send out 4 Peacock posts per year, 2 that will be home delivered to every address in Taunton, every residential address, and 2 that will be left in strategic locations across the town. We think in GPs, libraries, leisure centres, that kind of thing. On the ones where we do the home delivery, we'll also leave them in those locations at the same time. It will also seek the approval for myself to explore and agree the sale of limited advertising space to offset the cost of this newsletter, and to approve the budget allocation for design, print and distribution of a printed edition this financial year as a time-limited trial. If this trial seems successful, I'll come back in the next financial year for approval for the full programme. So we do rely quite heavily at the moment on digital channels to share information. This approach is cost-effective and timely, but we do recognise it doesn't reach all residents equally, particularly those who are digitally excluded, have limited online confidence, or simply just don't engage with our platforms online. The printed communication does remain an effective way to reach these residents. I think at the moment the way we're dealing with it with our posters on notice boards, it's useful, it's good, but it doesn't reach everyone. So having a printed newsletter in your home is a tangible, accessible format you can look at your own pace, you can read it, you can feel it. But it feels that little bit more real. Be shared within those households and you can retain for future reference. This would be particularly relevant again for the older residents, those about the internet, and just people who prefer offline information. The content of these newsletters would focus on core council messages, our services, key future dates and opportunities to engage rather than the time-sensitive updates that are more suited to that immediate digital channel. Design and editorial content will be managed in-house, with printing and distribution to be done externally, but in line with our financial controls. I've had indicative quotes for printing and distribution of this, but after you guys approve, I will of course go through the free quote process. And the first printed edition is slated for distribution just ahead of the annual town meeting, so it can act as an advert for that as well. In terms of climate and ecological implications, I do say no, printed materials will be recyclable. I think what I mean is if they can be and still be good, they will be recyclable. It depends on recycled paper, but a lot of it doesn't look very good, so I want to make sure this going to every home looks good. But there are ways we could consider a newspaper style one that could be recycled and look decent, but that would be our first port of call. But I do want to make sure that we are doing a really high quality product for our residents. And importantly, it's intended to complement, not replace, digital channels, which are virtually carbon neutral. So in terms of financial responses, resource simplifications proposed that an £8,000 budget is allocated from cost centre 160 budget code 7202, that is marketing and branding, and that will cover the design costs, printing costs and distribution associated with the trial. This can be met within the existing marketing budget for this financial year and doesn't require additional funding. In terms of risks, there is a reputational risk around printed copies, again with climate, and we're going to get some people who said this is a waste of money, why you send it to me? But I think that is offset by the chance to contact our digitally excluded residents. And there's also a small risk that the reputation advertising might see that we're endorsing them or it's undermining our editorial independence. But I think with a focus on local businesses, this shouldn't really be too much of an issue. And that aligns with our corporate priority of being a prosperous town. There was an EIA done as part of this. The proposal is expected to have a positive impact on basically all residents, or a neutral impact on, if not, but the only negative impact identified was for those with poor eyesight. But again, this is mitigated by the availability of other formats on request and digital content being accessible with assistive technologies. So recommendations are you guys to approve this proposal for a Peacock Post and to approve that budget we've already talked about, and so we can start this trial this financial year.
Thank you. Thanks, Craig. I mean, obviously, it's something that I feel we should be doing as printers, because I've always said that, you know, social media is great, but not everybody can access it. And there's a huge amount of our residents that don't have access to social media. And I think this is for a trial, it's good, you know, to look at. And it's also a way of, again, we can address those issues about, we can have what town councils do, what do Somerset councils do, we could address that in there. But I'm just wondering about, you know, you mentioned about the climate and ecological impact, is whether we can offset something, maybe talk to Jordan about, for the amount of paper that we're using, we could either offset it by planting more trees, and sort of looking at it in that sort of range. So maybe Jordan maybe have some ideas about that, and our climate officer around that. So Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, I'd endorse the need for this, and in some parishes they have a month, like monthly, isn't it? Bishop's Hull, there was one goes out monthly, and I just think relying on digital is a bit. It's you know, we're not at that point yet where everybody is, you know, tuned. There's certainly not everyone is tuned to Facebook. You know, even like young people might be more likely to read something that comes to the door rather than something that's on Facebook. So I think it's definitely something that we need to do. And I endorse what Councillor Fernandez said about the offsetting. That's an against we're always doing that. You put out a load of leaflets and then you end up, you literally write trees and trees get planted. So I think that would be a must do aspect of it. I'm just a bit confused about what, so it's £8,000 for one edition this financial year. And then, so if we were going to do it regularly, because it's saying biannual, so I think we in the budget we budgeted £15,000, but you said ideally you do it essentially quarterly. So, is that right? But obviously it'd be less for the ones that are you just have to get printed and then you deliver to certain locations. So I'm assuming, are you thinking that even within, say, next financial year, you could still do it within, or try and do it within that budget envelope? Yeah.
So that £15,000 is almost enough. My budget, we for this year we allocated I think £4,000 for print use, and we didn't get to that this year. So but those costs, it's about £5,000 for delivering, just under £3,000 for the print costs. Right. So that would be, if we do it in March, we do another one in September sort of thing, probably before Taunton Together as an advert for that, and it'd be in between a same size, about an 8-page one, but that's just about 300 copies left in libraries and museum and that kind of thing. So yeah, that cost isn't huge, and that would either be delivered by staff or we just use Royal Mail for not a huge amount of money to get that distributed. The distribution companies like Hand Distribution door-to-door company, and that's why it's the bulk of it. But a lot cheaper than Royal Mail.
Can I come on other? I've got other points.
Hopefully offset by advertising revenue as well. So
I think that's a good idea. I think that was perfectly normal. I had to pay them in sub to put my little ad in Bishop's Hall Watset, so they know who so I don't, got no issue with that whatsoever. Oh yes. How are we gonna? I don't know if I was. I think it's a good idea. But if somebody asked me, I wouldn't know the answer to this question. How are we going to gauge success? Are we hoping to get some feedback or something? Just base it on whatever feedback comes in, or is there some other sort of funny thing that we can do that?
We have been talking about funny things that we can do.
Right.
I had a discussion with Paul Vickery today about potentially putting a different phone number on there. But if we have some sort of call to action in there, we can then monitor how many people are called that, but it routes to our main line. So still investigating how that will look and what we can do. That's one way. We're also going to probably put in QR codes that have analytics with them in there. So people who are scanning codes will know how many people looked at those codes. Other than that, it's quite hard unless we maybe partner with the business saying we've got a token here for money off with your advert, and then we can find out how many people used it, that kind of thing.
Other points, sorry, I'm still on my points. There is this thing that RNIB, is one of the organisations I used to work for, have this thing called the Clear Print Guidelines, and they're just, you can just Google them, you can just guidance, Clear Print Guidance. So if you want to make it the print copy as accessible as possible, following those and stating that you're following those will help a lot of people with poor eyesight. People like me who are, I'm not registered partially sighted or anything, but I'm like, like blow it, just there's some simple things in there. So that would be quite a nice thing to say, we're actually, following these guidelines for that, and you can literally just download them. And I do think on the paper front, I do think it might also tie in with the clear print actually about matte as opposed to whatever, but it should be possible to get some paper that's not, that's recycled paper or whatever, and then it can be recycled again, that doesn't look too many, I think people would understand if it was a bit, didn't look like we spent a vast amount of money on it, but we're still nice and clear and readable. Anyway, end of points, I support it.
Yeah, definitely not look like a glossy, shiny thing, it's a waste of money, but something still looks good. I think we've had some recycled office paper this year. We've used it for a few posters, but it's all curly and brown and it doesn't look very professional. It's not the image of the council it delivers that we want to represent. But there's definitely a middle ground that we can find that is definitely recyclable materials at the very least.
Yeah. Thanks, Councillor. Any other questions for Craig? Councillor Don.
Sorry, I may have missed something there. Can I just clarify that we're intending to distribute this to every household in Taunton?
Exactly.
It is. Right. I just wanted that.
One to each household.
For a minute, I thought they had to request if they wanted that.
No.
But no, it's going to every household.
In our parish.
Wonderful. And how many pages do you intend it to be?
I'm looking at about an 8-page edition right now, so it'll give us some space to put some proper stories in there, maybe an editorial. But depends on advertising uptake as well.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions before we move to the vote? Okay, so we are being asked to approve the proposal for a home delivered peacock post, for us to approve the delegated authority to the community and place manager for expenditure of up to £8,000 from the marketing and branding budget at 160-7202 to fund the design, printing and distribution costs associated with the trial for the current financial year, and to approve the communications and engagement lead to explore the feasibility of selling limited advertising space within the newsletter. Are you happy for me to take all of these through together? Yeah, okay. So I'm happy to propose this proposal. A seconder, Councillor Ellis, and all those in favour. And that's carried. Thank you very much. Thanks, Marie. Thank you for that. Brilliant. So 2 more to go. So our next item is football counters. So we are being asked to look at.
Yes.
Thanks very much, Greg. Thank you. We've been asked to seek approval for the allocation of up to £7,500 from our budget line 160,720 to support the football counters in Taunton as per any awarded contract by Sunset Council, and also recommend that Taunton Town Council fund up to £7,500 of the cost of Taunton's football counters per year to Sunset Council for the length of the contract appointed. So over to you, Craig, to give some background about that.
Yes, thank
And why
you.
we're asking.
Absolutely, thank you, Chair. So football counters in Taunton are really important to us. We use the data regularly for various things from a town council perspective. One, primarily to support grant applications, where we want to kind of recognise the impact that the funding has on some of our initiatives and projects that we deliver in and around the town centre. And also to measure the impact of some of our own projects that we deliver in the town centre, for example, like Taunton Together. The footfall counters at the moment that we have around the town centre are actually owned by Somerset Council. They hold the contract and they've been kind enough to allow me to log into their systems to be able to extract that data for our own use. It's been brought to my attention recently that they haven't renewed the contract with their existing supplier at the moment, but they are looking to go back out to tender for this particular project for the footfall counters. So they're asking if the town council could financially help to support that, considering that we use the data. So this request here today is to seek the allocation of up to £7,500 to support the footfall counters in Taunton as part of the awarded contract by Somerset Council. We know that at the moment they haven't gone to tender, they're just seeking permission and authorisation to go out to tender. But if they do that, asking to utilise some of our budget that we've got allocated to support the procurement process so that we can access this data. In terms of risks, because we have been utilising footfall data, it'd be a shame to not have this data to support future grant applications. At the moment, we've also been exploring particularly the community lead on social return on investment. There'll be an evaluation from Taunton Together that will be presented to councillors, which talks about the impact of that particular project and how the footfall data has also been used to evaluate the impact of that particular project. So without the kind of footfall data, I guess it slowly diminishes the quality of the evaluation that we're able to pull together with the data and the resources that we look at. There are no environmental impacts relating to this particular request that's been put to you today. And I'm happy to kind of take any questions. Thank you. Thank you.
Fabulous, thanks, Craig. And I think the other important thing, you may have mentioned it, is it does provide an essential role in supporting grant applications. So obviously, if we need to prove an evidence for any of these wonderful things that happen in our town, if we can, we can prove that having these wonderful events in our town bring all those fees in, then that can be a good thing. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, just some couple of. I mean, obviously, yes, football counters important. I don't think anyone would argue with that. So just to understand, if we say no, we think they're important, but we don't want to cough up and give you £7,500, what happens? Is this one of these things where it says we are not going to do it unless you cough up, or are they just sort of saying let's see if we can ask the town council and see what what they say type of thing, chanting, or is it literally they're going to cut it if we don't cough up? And then sort of questions around, I've written here location. Are you happy? Are we happy that they're in the right place? So for like Taunton Together, where you've got, and a lot of events are, yes, some of them might be right slap bang in the town centre. So Sound of the Streets was like, the last one was in front of the market house and just there, so we would have captured that. But when you've got stuff happening in Castle Green, how do we know, like how much extra footfall the independent market creates, or an event on Castle Green. How would we know if we did something in Goodlands Gardens, you know, how many people came into Goodlands Gardens? Somerset Square, another key event space. So I'm just sort of thinking, I get it's useful to know, you know, how many people are in the town centre, and it's quite big, so you've got to pick places. But then I'm thinking, you know, how much is it extra to add on? Is it worth adding on any others? Do we have any say about where they go, and are they in your or our opinion at the moment in the best place? Some of them are obvious, like, you know, obviously High Street, and there seem to be 2 outside Hubbards or something. And I'm like, hang on, how come there's one pointing one way, one pointing another, sort of thing? I don't know. I just sort of, yeah, useful if it St James's Street, you know, who's acting independent quarter, but like it still doesn't answer the thing about when we're doing stuff in event spaces. Do we have any way of, or are we just relying on the fact that, oh, footfall was increased in the town centre, and we assume it was because this was on?
Thank you, Craig.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Reyes. Yeah, a good number of questions there. So if we don't cough up, what will happen? Great question. So at the moment, what we know is that there's been a request to go to tender from Somerset Council. So it could be that they turn around and say, actually, no, our financial situation dictates that actually we can't pursue with this. So this is then for us to kind of reconsider, is £7,500 enough money for us to kind of explore our own kind of footfall measures that we'd like to implement in the town centre. But that's only if Somerset Council say no, they're not wanting to pursue. If they say yes, happy to pursue, then they would be looking at utilising the existing locations for the footfall counters, because they've already been approved from a planning perspective. So they're already in situ, they've already been agreed, that's where they're going to be. If they want to be changed, it would be subject to a new planning application. So obviously that would extend the process to do that. But that's not impossible, but it would be a decision that Somerset Council would need to make on that. In terms of measuring the impact of the events that take place within Goodland Gardens or Castle Green, for example, yeah, the footfall counters, we don't have any strategically placed within kind of Goodland Gardens or Somerset Square or in Castle Green. But just like you say, when events do happen within those locations and they are attracting footfall, we do naturally see that the footfall increases generally throughout the town centre, which is really nice to know, because you know that people are not just coming for the event necessarily, but they're also exploring the wider town and the retail offer, which the businesses like to hear about quite often. Hopefully, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions about footfall counters for Craig?
Well, it's not really a question. I think it's just to, because my same question was with Councillor Ellis. You know, are we spending £7,500 liberally, or you know, do we have to? Because I noticed from the report that they recognise that highways also need this information. So the report said, oh, Somerset Council have realised that highways and Taunton Town Council need this information. So it looks like they're probably going to go ahead with this anyway. They're just looking to try and recoup some of their costs. And so, I mean, I guess we have to ask the question, because we are spending our residents' money. We need to make sure that we're right to do this. I guess if we're sharing that data, if we want that data ourselves, I suppose it's reasonable that we do contribute to that. So I suppose you could take a counter argument for that. I suppose that's yes, if we wanted to justify this, if Somerset Council go to procurement, set us up because they want it for highways, but if we want that information as well, then it's highly unreasonable that we contribute something to it. Yes, I was looking at the location. Yes, an interesting point about the locations. I guess that because there's East Street and North Street, isn't it? I suppose they're seeing how many people are walking into town at any point, and then I guess it just extrapolates as to how many people are in town. Yes, I guess seeing where people are entering the town centre, but not long down the high street, I noticed. Oh, I guess that's what Michael Spears.
Yeah.
Place.
Okay. So actually, they are covering the three main artery routes into the town. So that's giving us good coverage.
Yeah, thank you. Did you want to come back on that, Greg?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, just to add, although the recommendation is to seek allocation of up to 7,500, which is the kind of the top, the budget limit. But in the conversations with Somerset, we would be looking to negotiate.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And it's already in the budget anyway. It's already been in there. It's already been pre.
I think if we're using the data, you know, if we rely on the data, it's reasonable to look at.
Yeah, Councillor Bond.
Do you know where they got the £7,500 figure from for like what they're like up to requesting? Like, do you know why that's the figure they've come to us with?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bard. So yeah, that figure has been something that I'm aware of based on a previous role that I formerly held in a district council not so long ago. I was responsible for the footfall counters in the town centre, so I know that the contract was about £15,000 annually. So and just so happens to be that it kind of fits the budget next year at about 50%, you know, to kind of fund up to half of it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or no? Thank you very much. So let's move to the vote. So again, I'll take these two together to seek approval for the allocation of £7,500 from budget line 160,720,7270 to support the football counters in Taunton as per any awarded contract by Somerset Council. I recommend that Taunton Town Council fund up to £7,500 of the cost for Taunton's footfall counters per year to Somerset Council for the length of the contract appointed. Can I have a proposer, please? Oh, no. Councillor Rowley's the seconder, Councillor Pollard, and all those in favour? And that's carried. Thank you. So moving on now to agenda item 12, which is the Town of Culture agenda request that's been submitted by Councillor Ellis. And we are being asked to agree and approve the following recommendations. That we submit an expression of interest application to the UK Town of Culture competition, working collaboratively with our cultural partners. That authority is delegated to the head of community in place and committee chair, arts and culture working group co-chairs and a subgroup to formulate and submit the expression of interest. Taunton Town Council agrees in principle to instigate the formation of a Taunton creative partnership with officers to develop a proposal for submission, and members to note that this is just the initial EOI stage and that any subsequent submission is a bit missing, I think. Is there?
What's something to say at the end?
Just notice.
You know, this is just an initial expression of interest stage. And I think the word "that" should not be there.
Yeah.
And any subsequent
just
discussion.
yeah.
So sorry, it's just an additional word that's confused the sentence there, but that word "that" should not be there.
Yeah, brilliant. So I mean, obviously we've read the report from Craig, but I think what I'd like to do is invite Councillor Ellis just to add a little bit of colour to this, and we're all absolutely behind it and support it, but it'd be lovely just to hear your words.
No, I was hoping this would be a no-brainer in terms of the whole town council getting behind it. And we found out about this UK Town of Culture competition, which was, I think it was initially trailed in September, and then there was a press release 30th of October. So I think it's a great initiative because previously there's always been a UK City of Culture, and cities have been able to bid, and they have found that it's brought partners together across the city. They have levered in extra investment. They've been able to put on incredible cultural programmes. So it's very highly sought after, as it were. And so they've now decided to broaden it and let towns get in on the act, which I think is a real positive. So it's going to be, they've just done the sort of nuts and bolts announcement of it yet. So the applications will open soon. They're not open yet. It's going to be coming soon. And it will follow a different timeline to the City of UK City of Culture. It won't be exactly the same process either. I don't think it'll be quite as involved because it's a town and it's small amounts of money we're talking about. So any town where class I think is medium to large town will be able to apply, and applications will be judged on how good you are at telling the unique story of your town. How are you going to tell that story? How are you going to make a programme of super accessible cultural events, so culture for all, and basically how good are you going to be at actually making it happen and making it sing? How will you deliver a successful programme? So there's probably going to be an expression of interest first. So that's where you write a short sort of pitch basically to say why you should be considered, you know, for this process. Then there will be a shortlisting after that. So if you get on the shortlist, then shortlisted towns have received £60,000 to develop the fuller bid, and then you would go forward to the next round. And if you're successful in that, I think there's going to be one successful town, but you would get 3.5 million to deliver cultural programmes during the summer across the summer of 2028. So really, you know, this is like money going, and we are a town of culture. Taunton is the creative heart of Somerset near the southwest.
Of course it is.
I believe this is something we just do really well. We make amazing accessible cultural events happen all the time. We have an incredible history and incredible histories, multiple stories in Taunton's past that we want to animate and tell and get people involved with. So we can absolutely smash this, is my view. All of our cultural partners, so from the brew house and the museum, Southern Symphonia, Somerset Opera, everyone is like, we want to be part of it, we want to work on this, we want to be, you know, help make this happen. And, you know, people falling over themselves, yes, we'll do this, we'll provide this, yeah. And they all want to work together, and we've got a good track record of, you know, coming together and doing it. So this seems to me a competition that is made for Taunton, and even if we're not successful, what's happened with previous say people bidding for the City of Culture, even if they haven't won it, basically they've ended up with a much better, closer working relations, and they've ended up with a programme of things that actually they could get other grants for, or that they might just decide, oh, this is amazing, hey, we can make it happen, let's just make it happen. So we've got nothing to lose, is my view. I think, like, say, Helena Payne said that the Arts Council would sort of be very interested to see Taunton applying for this. So I think people would expect Taunton has set its, you know, we've set our stall on being a major centre for arts and culture and creativity. So it would be blooming weird if we didn't go for it. You know, we've got the largest number of craft businesses anywhere in Somerset. That's another sort of string to our bow. We've just got it all going for us. So let's go for it. So I did touch base with the DCMS because I was getting a bit itchy about, I don't want to miss a deadline. So they've said the competition isn't open yet. They plan to publish full guidance and all relevant deadlines and key dates shortly, and they will share this with us once it's available. They're also going to host an information session in the next few weeks, they said, for interested towns to learn more, and they'll share the date once that's been finalised. So yeah, I think it's something we have to go for. Craig has obviously looked into sort of from the officer side of things, what might be involved. There's a lot of, the cultural partners will pile in with ideas. A lot of them have experience of being part of previous UK City of Culture events. Yeah. And we talked a lot at our meeting when we were discussing this about the importance of having things in different neighbourhoods as well, not just the town centre. So really taking culture to every part of Taunton. Loads of ideas flying around, as you can imagine. Vanessa's written a whole paper about it, which I haven't had a chance to read yet, full of banging ideas. And linked to this, we think it might be necessary to form a sort of what Bridgewater have got, like a cultural partnership, in case it needs to be something that very clearly is a partnership structure behind it. So we want the go ahead to do some more work around what does that actually look like. I think that could be quite strategically significant for the longer term anyway. So yes, I hope we can all agree so that once they press the button, DCMS, and go live, we can just get to work on doing a really good expression of interest.
Fabulous, thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you for all the work, because I know you've worked really, really hard with lots of papers and writings and stuff. You've worked so hard, and I think I think obviously it's going to be a big thing, and obviously it's covered in the report, in Craig's report, about about the input, the resources needed from our existing officer team. And obviously, you know, we've got two new members of staff, which is going to help. But I think what you were saying about having that is obviously input from yourself, there's input from, you know, Councillor Garside. So the actual input and the writing sounds to me like a lot of it is already being done anyway, and that input from those cultural partners will help, and so on and so forth. So for me, I'm absolutely in complete support. Is there anything you would like to add, Craig, at all?
I think my only thing to add is just adding a little bit onto some of the risks with this, and actually recognising the impact that it would have on the resource, because obviously we are stretched as a service, and just recognising that we'll look to develop a bit of a project plan, timelines, and actually recognise how that impacts or how that fits onto other scheduled projects and works, and making sure that we have foresight where the pinch points might be, so that we can better inform actually the priorities that we're looking at and what kind of impact they have. But other than that, yeah, nothing more from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig.
Question for Craig: does it have to go to full council, or is just do we have the authority to just go, right, we're doing it when it comes around?
It's in the recommend. I think it's in the recommendation. It is delegated to the head of community in place and the committee chair at this stage. I think if it goes further.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So this is just the expression of interest stage, and then when we get to the next round where there's a £60,000 budget potential proposal, then it would come back to committee because it still falls under that threshold. And obviously, if we become shortlisted and say, well, shortlisted, but become the winner, then that would be a full council. And obviously, any offers are actually grants, so we would have to agree to enter that grant and agree to the terms and conditions of that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so if we're all happy. Can
I just add that Taunton is so poised for this right now, and there are, you know, I mean, they're really ready to go for this, and they're so, as Caroline said, you know, so enthusiastic as well. And many people have criticised Taunton for having no cultural identity, and I disagree, because I've lived here a long time and I know that it does have a very distinct cultural identity, but not everybody knows about it, not everybody feels it. But this will make them feel it. They will definitely learn about their town, this lovely town they live in, and it's very, very exciting history. I mean, one of the things that kept me here in this town was the story behind Taunton. You know, it has a very, very exciting story of rebellion, and lots of rebellious people, you know, and that's still going on, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you're preaching to the converted, and I think it also opens, if successful, it opens the doors to other things. It opens the doors for those organisations within our town for grant funding, for all of those things because of that. So it opens. It's that ripple effect, isn't it? I think. So let's go on to the recommendations. Do you want me to read them all again, or are we happy?
Happy.
I'm happy.
So I should take them all on block from 1 to 4. We're not changing anything. Can I have a proposer? Councillor Ellis. A seconder? Yeah. Councillor Garside, and all those in favour. And that's unanimously carried. Thank you very much. So what would have been the last agenda item is the mural. I'm recommending to members that this is deferred to our March meeting. We discussed it at the agenda setting meeting, but I think there's a miscommunication that it's ended up on here. But the actual background of the reports aren't quite ready yet, are they? So I'm just going to recommend that it's deferred until the March meeting.
Just second that.
Yeah. Yes, Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, no, I'm a bit disappointed because I had a cunning plan for this, because I was looking at it thinking what we really need is an integrated approach to the area, this corner, in terms of not just the mural, but how we landscape it, because it's quite in placemaking terms. It's near the centre of town. It's a critical sort of junction, as it were, and it's actually quite important that we, you know, do something good with it. And I picked up the phone to Louise Boff of Swan Paul, who's done a lot of the public art and landscaping around the centre of Taunton. Like there was this big project Taunton 2011, I want to say, around about then, where they did a lot of this sort of re-looking at, revitalising Somerset Square, Woodland Gardens, various other, that was also when the museum got redone. So, and I was sort of saying, we've got this corner, we quite, some of us would quite like a mural, but we've also got to think about the, we might also like some planters, take advantage of it from a sort of eco point of view, to have that, insects, maybe a bit of shade, maybe somewhere if you're lugging your bags to kind of like rest your bottom a minute, maybe some bicycle racks, because there's probably a need for it around there. And I said, but it feels to me like, and I said we were talking about going out to public consultation, but I said it feels to me like we need something, some options, some sort of ballpark options where you could see what you could do this with it. Here's one concept, you could do this with it, or you could do option B with it, or you could do option C, based on what we've been talking about up to date, and giving some indicative costs. Now, the thing is, they could do that for us dirt cheap, very quickly, with a very, very quick turnaround. If we leave it till March, you might not get that. It depends how people want to play it. I just sort of think what I would do, I would want to move it forward, because it's just sat there. We've got the harass, and yes, we can clear it, but it's just going to be like sat there. We won't be able to say what we're going to do with it. So I'm quite keen that we kind of move forward, but I quite like the idea of just commissioning very, very quickly something that we can then consult on. So we're thinking of doing this, we've got the land, here are some ideas that the initial, very initial ideas to get people sort of thinking, okay, or I like that, or I don't like that, or actually I don't think we should do this at all, or whatever it is. And then you've got something that you can meaningfully consult on.
Thank you, thanks for that feedback. I'm going to ask, I'm going to hand over to Councillor O'Donnell, because obviously this is sort of come under the ops and assets side of thing, hasn't it? And it's although, and thank you for your feedback on that one, absolutely, but I think we're still not in a position.
No, I think that, because I mean, this originally came, isn't it, ops and assets back in November, isn't it? We were on that committee, and we realised it's just something for community in place. So I think it was all still up in the air, and I think it's the options for what we can do with it are still up in the air, and I don't think we've really got. I think we go now. I think we will limit. Well, I believe we will limit ourselves. I think that's part of the reasons why we wanted to just delay it another couple of months, because we want to limit ourselves a little bit more when there's more options available and more to explore. So I just felt, and we felt at the agenda meeting, that we didn't really have. I think we were really limited in what we were able to offer, and actually I think just holding off for a little bit longer just gave us more options. The aim is to do it for February, but we've always gone for the first of the month. First Tuesday of the month, which just happens in February, we're at the end of the month, and the March one is only 2 weeks later. I'm looking at the agenda for February. I think it's March, we're looking at the forward plan. I think there's scope for more options.
But I think it would be useful for Councillor Ellis to feed in all of those ideas into it, because I think we've got to undertake, but I mean, the original thing in here is about the public consultation. So whatever concept and ideas, we need to find out what actually the public want before we go forward with saying, and actually with that outlay and spending any money. And that's why another reason is to defer it to March, to get all those things in motion to actually establish what we're going to do. Councillor Ellis.
Yeah, I just come back to the fact that I haven't got ideas to feed now. I want somebody who knows about landscape design, who understands Taunton and how Taunton works, who's got the expertise on the planning, the design, the everything, to do us a quick and dirty thing so that we know what our options are. Because I don't think we're gonna, we can come up saying, oh, we'd like this here and that there and this here. We're not the landscape designers. We're not. That's not our forte. There's nobody in this building whose forte that is. I mean, I might be wrong. I might be wrong, but I don't think that there is anybody in that building. Hence why, I mean, this could happen anyway. I mean, I'm guessing we could do this anyway, off the books, whatever, not in this committee. But I'm just saying, this is going to be one that could just end up coming again and again, this committee, that, you know, whereas I'd rather just say, right, well, talk to somebody who knows what they're doing, landscape people who could do for cheap, on the cheap. If we did it now, week turnaround, give us some options based on, send them what we've discussed so far and say, what can we do with this? There's all sorts of things. You need somebody who understands the contingencies, who understands the, you know, the stuff about what would get through planning, what planners would have a fit at, what, because it's on the highway, again, you need to know what would highways have a fit at, or what could you get past highways, as it were. So anyway, I'll just leave it at that. Things could happen behind the scenes. I just think we need to sort of not stick it on a back burner. I think we need somebody with some experience to set out, well, these are some ideas, and then that helps us, I think, moving forward.
Thank you. And I think from today that absolutely it's not going to go get it won't come on the back burner, because it needs to come to fit, it needs a decision. But I think all of the points that you've raised are really, really valid, and I think they should go to Marcus. As yeah, and let him know, because then obviously all of that information can inform that report that comes to the next, you know, to that committee meeting, so we can actually look at it in detail.
Yeah, and I think we'd be very happy to hear from.
Absolutely.
What's the name?
Like Swan Paul, it's just because they always pick up the phone to me and they give me free, you know, it's like, if you want to bounce ideas off somebody who knows about landscape design and understands designed parts of Taunton, and they know all the design guides and they know all the history of that as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I think local residents, local people with local knowledge are vital to our plans, and I think we just need to be able to give the time to make sure that we spread that net wide for them, to give those people with all that kind of guidance to us.
So Julio, have you noted that it will be deferred
To March.
to March, yeah, to the next year? So that
You have to vote. You have to vote.
oh sorry, yeah. So
Proposed and seconded.
so I propose that we defer item 13 on the agenda, the mural, to the community in place meeting for March. So
What we do.
all those in favour of moving it? Just, we've got to move it. I'm proposing to move, deferring it to March. So all those in favour? There's 3. All those against? 2 against. That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight, and thank you for the persevering through those IT hiccups. Thank you.